You can forgive a woman for many things, mistakes, emotions, bad days. But there are certain lines that once crossed change everything. Most men ignore the signs. They think staying quiet keeps the peace. But silence doesn't fix disrespect. It feeds it. This isn't about hating women. It's about protecting yourself from emotional damage that forgiveness can't fix. Because once you start forgiving what destroys your self-respect, you're no longer in love, you're in denial. So today, let's get brutally honest. Here are 8 things you should never forgive a woman for. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because the moment you let these slide, everything changes. 1. Disrespecting you in public. Let's start with one of the biggest tests you'll ever face as a man. Public disrespect. When a woman embarrasses you, mocks you, interrupts you, or rolls her eyes while you're speaking. It might seem small at the moment, but that's the seed where every bigger problem begins. And most men, they miss it. They laugh it off. They tell themselves she's just emotional. But here's the truth every time you let it slide. She learns something dangerous, that she can wound your pride and still keep your love. A woman who respects you might disagree with you behind closed doors, but she'll never humiliate you in public. Because when she does that, it's not about emotion anymore. It's about dominance. She sang without words. You don't set the tone here. I do. And once that dynamic flips, attraction slowly begins to die. You'll start noticing subtle shifts. Her tone changes, her interest fades, and her patience disappears. Why? Because respect is the oxygen of attraction. Once it's gone, love suffocates quietly. So here's what most men don't understand. You don't correct disrespect by arguing louder. You correct it by withdrawing your energy and setting boundaries that can't be ignored. You don't have to yell. You don't have to threaten. You just have to be willing to walk away from where respect no longer lives. Because the moment she realizes you'll stay after she disrespects you, she'll never look at you the same way again. But here's where it goes deeper. Sometimes the disrespect isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet, emotional, hidden behind love. And that brings us to the next point. 2, using your vulnerability against you. Every strong man has a soft spot, and that's what makes him human. But the wrong woman will take that softness and turn it into a weapon. When you open up about your past, your fears, or the things that hurt you most, you're giving her access to a side of you the world doesn't see. You're saying, I trust you enough to see the real me. But when she takes that trust and uses it to control you, to win arguments, to guilt trip you, to shame you, that's not love anymore. That's emotional blackmail. And the worst part, you'll start blaming yourself for it. You'll tell yourself, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. You'll close off and she'll say you've changed. But the truth is, you didn't change. She betrayed your safe space. That's how emotional wounds form. Not from heartbreak, but from being used where you expected understanding. Here's what most men don't realize. A woman who truly loves you will protect your vulnerability, because she knows it's a sacred part of your masculinity. But a manipulative woman will use it to remind you of your weakness, just to keep you from realizing your strength. And once that line is crossed, Forgiveness doesn't fix it. It only resets the trap. Because if she knows your deepest wounds and still chooses to twist them. Brother, that's not a mistake. That's calculation. And that's why this next one is so dangerous. Because a woman who lies repeatedly doesn't just deceive you. She slowly trains you to question your own reality. Before we go deeper, just do one thing for me. Hit the like button if this is already hitting something real. What's coming next will hit even harder. Let's keep going, 3. Lying repeatedly. Here's a brutal truth most men don't want to admit. You'll never see a relationship the same way again after being lied to. At first it's subtle, she says. I forgot to tell you. Then it becomes it's not what it looks like. And eventually, you start noticing that what she says and what she does never quite match. You feel it. Something's off, but every time you ask, she flips it around. You become the problem. You become insecure. And that's how manipulation begins. Not through chaos, but through calm. She doesn't need to yell or argue. She just needs to plant enough doubt in your mind that you stop trusting your own eyes. That's when you start chasing truth instead of living it. You start defending her instead of defending your peace. Here's the real danger, brother. A woman who lies repeatedly isn't afraid of losing your trust. She's confident you'll forgive her anyway. And that's when she stops respecting you completely. Most men think love is enough to fix dishonesty. It's not. Because love without truth is nothing more than emotional anesthesia. It numbs you while the damage spreads quietly underneath. So if you catch her lying and she turns it around on you, understand this. She's not confused. She's controlling the narrative. And once truth dies in a relationship, what's left isn't love, it's theater. A performance that drains you slowly, until you forget who you were before the act began. But there's something even more dangerous than lying. It's when she breaks your trust over and over again, and expects you to rebuild it each time like nothing happened. 4. Repeatedly breaking your trust. Let's be honest, every man has a breaking point. But before that, there's always 1,000 small moments he ignored. Trust isn't broken by one big betrayal. It's broken by a series of small, deliberate choices. When she flirts with other men, hides messages, or emotionally checks out but still expects your loyalty. She's not confused about her actions. She's confident in your forgiveness. That's the most dangerous kind of betrayal. The kind that's repeated because every time you forgive it, she learns that love means no consequences. And here's the trap most men fall into. You confuse patience with strength. You think staying means loyalty. But sometimes staying is just fear. Fear of starting over, fear of being alone, fear of realizing the person you loved has no respect for you. Here's what you need to understand. A woman who truly respects you fears losing your trust more than she fears losing the relationship. But a woman who repeatedly breaks it, she's already gone emotionally. She's just waiting for you to stop catching up. And no amount of love can rebuild what her actions keep destroying. So don't be fooled by apologies or tears. Because the moment betrayal becomes a pattern, you're not in love anymore. You're in a cycle. And the only way to break it is to walk away with your dignity still intact. Why? Disrespecting your purpose or dreams. Let's get one thing straight, brother. A man's purpose is not just what he does. It's who he is. Your purpose is the engine that drives you through pain, confusion, and setbacks. It's the fire that gives meaning to your struggle. And the woman who can't respect that will eventually destroy it. You can forgive a lot in love, but never forgive a woman who mocks your vision, who laughs when you speak about your goals, or who gets irritated when you start growing. Because here's the truth. A woman who disrespects your purpose isn't against your dream. She's against your evolution. At first, it's subtle. She'll say things like, "You work too much," or "Why do you care about that stuff so much?" But what she's really saying is, "Stop being the man who's outgrowing me." Most men ignore that warning sign. They think maybe she just wants more time. But the reality is, a woman who truly loves you won't compete with your purpose. She'll support it because she understands that your mission is what keeps you grounded as a man. And here's where most men fail. They start shrinking their dream to keep her comfortable. They trade their vision for her validation. And the moment you do that, you've lost the very thing that made her attracted to you. In the first place, your direction. So never stay where your ambition feels like a burden. Because when she stops respecting your future, she's already stopped believing in your worth. And that leads to something even darker. When disrespect doesn't just stay between you two, but starts spreading behind your back. 6, destroying your reputation behind your back. Few things cut deeper than this one. Because a woman can break your heart and you'll recover. But when she breaks your reputation, it follows you everywhere you go. When she starts talking bad about you to her friends, twisting stories to make herself look innocent, and you look like the villain. That's not venting. That's character assassination. And the worst part, she'll still smile in your face while tearing your name apart behind your back. That's when you realize you weren't just betrayed emotionally. You were betrayed socially. A loyal woman protects your name even when she's angry. Because she understands that the way she speaks about you, in your absence, is a reflection of how much she respected you in your presence. But the wrong woman, she'll destroy your reputation just to protect her ego. She'll rewrite the story so she's the victim, and you're the monster she had to escape. Here's what most men don't understand. You can recover from heartbreak, but you can't easily recover from a ruined image. Because once your reputation is poisoned, people stop seeing the man and start believing the story. So when a woman tarnishes your name to save hers, that's not something you forgive. That's something you distance yourself from permanently. Because a woman who truly valued you wouldn't destroy you publicly, just to feel right privately. And this is where most men get trapped. They keep explaining, defending, and hoping she'll clear the air. But she won't. Because she already decided that your pain is less important than her narrative. And that's why the next point cuts even deeper. Because sometimes she doesn't just destroy your name. She slowly convinces you to destroy yourself. 7, encouraging you to compromise your values. This one is subtle, and that's what makes it deadly. Because she won't come out and say, "Abandon your morals." She'll just slowly convince you to stop living by them. She'll tempt you with comfort. with shortcuts with emotional manipulation disguised as love. She'll say things like, "Why are you being so rigid?" Or "It's not that serious." Everyone does it. But every time you say yes to what you know is wrong, you lose a piece of yourself. And when a man starts losing his values, he starts losing his identity. Here's what most men don't realize. A woman who loves your character will never ask you to sacrifice it. But a woman who's addicted to control will always test it. She'll want to see how far she can push you before you break your own code. And when you finally give in, she doesn't respect you more. She respects you less. Because now she knows something powerful. You can be persuaded away from yourself. Brother, never let a woman's comfort outweigh your principles. If she can talk you out of your standards, she'll never trust you to lead her. Because deep down, even she knows a man without values is a man without direction. And when direction dies, the relationship becomes pure emotion. No structure, no honor. No growth. So never ever forgive a woman who tempts you to betray who you are. Because love that demands yourself. Betrayal isn't love, it's control. And speaking of control, that brings us to one of the most toxic patterns of all 8. Trying to control you through guilt or emotion. This one is the silent killer of masculine peace. Because it doesn't happen through yelling or threats. It happens through emotional leverage. You'll know it when you start feeling like you're always wrong. Even when you're not. When she cries, shuts down. Or gives you the cold shoulder every time you try to set a boundary. It's subtle at first. She'll say things like, "You don't care about me anymore," or "You've changed." And suddenly you're apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. That's not love. That's emotional manipulation. The quiet conditioning that makes you believe you're responsible for her. Every mood. Most men fall for this trap because they mistake peacekeeping for love. They think if I just make her happy, things will calm down. But the truth is, you can't fix someone who uses guilt to control connection. Because every time you give in, you reinforce the behavior. And here's the twisted irony. The more you try to keep her happy, the less respect she feels. Because she doesn't want a man who bends to her emotions. She wants a man whose emotions don't bend his principles. So the next time you feel trapped in that emotional maze, remember this. Love without boundaries turns into slavery. And no amount of "I'm sorry" or "I'll do better" can heal what manipulation has already poisoned. So never forgive a woman who tries to control you through guilt or emotion. Because once you do, she won't love you deeper. She'll just test you harder. Listen, brother. Forgiveness is powerful. But forgiveness without boundaries is self-betrayal. Every man needs to remember this. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be principled. The goal isn't to find a woman who never makes mistakes. It's to stand so firm in your self-respect that no one can make the same mistake with you twice. So don't be the man who keeps teaching the same lesson to the same person who refuses to learn. Be the man who chooses peace over chaos, purpose over comfort, and dignity over desperation, because once you do, you won't need revenge. Your silence, your growth, and your absence will say everything.